The grief no one warns you about. Carl Jung on family, individuation, and becoming yourself. There is a kind of grief that few people ever talk about. It does not arrive with a funeral. No one sends flowers. No one offers condolences. There is no ceremony, no public acknowledgement that anything has been lost. The people you are mourning are still alive. They sit across from you at family dinners. They call you on holidays. Their photographs still hang on your walls. And yet, something between you has died. You feel it long before you can explain it. It is the strange realization that the relationship you once believed existed was built upon expectations, roles, and invisible agreements that you never consciously accepted. Something fundamental has shifted. The connection remains, but the illusion does not. Most cultures teach us that family is sacred. We are told that blood is thicker than water, that loyalty to family is among the highest virtues, and that staying connected to those who raised us is a moral obligation. For many people, these beliefs are never questioned. But Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, arrived at a deeply unsettling conclusion. He believed that one of the most important psychological tasks of human life is separation. Not separation from strangers, not separation from enemies, separation from the very people who raised us. And he believed that most people never fully accomplish this task, not because they are weak, not because they lack intelligence, but because family systems are often designed without anyone consciously intending it to prevent genuine separation from ever taking place. To understand why, we must first understand a difficult truth, the role you never chose. Every family is a system. Like every system, it seeks stability. To maintain that stability, family members unconsciously adopt roles. These roles emerge long before a child develops a clear sense of identity. Some children become the responsible one. Others become the peacemaker. Some become the rebel. Others become the invisible child. The family unconsciously assigns these positions based on what the system needs in order to maintain balance. The child rarely chooses these roles. They inherit them. Jung referred to the social mask we present to the world as the persona. Within families, however, the persona often becomes something more rigid. It becomes an identity imposed upon us before we have the capacity to choose who we are. The tragedy is that many people spend decades defending an identity that was never truly theirs. The responsible child learns that their value comes from carrying everyone else's burdens. The rebel learns that their purpose is to absorb the family's unspoken conflicts. The invisible child learns that love is earned through silence and self-erasure. These identities may feel natural because they were formed early, but familiarity is not authenticity. Many people reach adulthood without realizing they have spent their entire lives performing a role written by someone else. The most painful moment arrives when they begin asking a simple question: who am I without this role? For many, the answer is terrifying, because the role has become indistinguishable from the self. Removing it feels like removing part of one's own skin. Yet individuation, the process Jung considered central to psychological development, requires exactly that. It requires discovering who you are beneath the role. When love becomes architecture. One of Jung's most profound insights was that love and attachment are not always the same thing. Many family systems operate through unconscious dependency. A parent who feels emotionally abandoned may rely on a child for comfort. A mother may unconsciously treat her son as her primary emotional companion. A father may place the burden of his unfulfilled dreams onto his daughter. None of this necessarily happens through malice. In fact, it often happens through love, or what appears to be love. The child becomes essential to maintaining the emotional stability of the parent. Over time, the relationship stops functioning as a relationship between two individuals. Instead, it becomes a structure, an architecture. The child is no longer simply love. The child becomes necessary, and necessity can become a prison. Jung observed that some of the strongest psychological prisons are built not from hostility, but from affection, because affection makes the chains invisible. The child feels guilty for wanting freedom. The parent feels threatened by independence. Both mistake dependency for love, but they are not the same thing. True love allows growth. Dependency resists it. The invisible machinery of guilt. People experience a peculiar form of guilt, not the guilt that follows wrongdoing, a different kind entirely. It appears when they begin doing something healthy for themselves, setting boundaries, moving away, starting therapy, pursuing a new career, creating distance from toxic dynamics. Instead of feeling liberated, they feel guilty. Because guilt often functions as a control mechanism within family systems. From childhood onward, many people learn an unconscious lesson. Your growth creates discomfort for others. Whenever they move toward independence, they experience emotional consequences: disapproval, withdrawal, silence, criticism disguised as concern, subtle reminders of obligation. These reactions condition the nervous system. Eventually, merely thinking about change triggers anxiety. The individual begins associating freedom with emotional pain. This is why so many adults remain trapped in family roles long after they recognize them. The prison no longer requires guards. The guards have been internalized. What makes this especially tragic is that the people reinforcing these patterns are often unaware of what they are doing. Parents frequently repeat the same emotional strategies that shaped them. They inherited them. Their parents inherited them. The pattern travels across generations. Jung described this phenomenon as psychic inheritance, unresolved fears, unprocessed grief, invisible wounds, passed down not through conscious teaching, but through atmosphere, through tone, through emotional reactions, through what remains unsaid. The guilt you feel may not even belong to you. It may be an emotional inheritance stretching back generations. The hero's journey begins with leaving. Joseph Campbell, whose work was deeply influenced by Jung, noticed a recurring pattern in myths across the world. The hero always leaves home. This departure is rarely celebrated. Parents resist it. Communities discourage it. Warnings abound. The world, beyond the familiar, appears dangerous. But Campbell recognized something profound. The true danger is not leaving. The true danger is staying. Whether it is Siddhartha leaving the palace, or Jesus embarking on his voyage, or countless heroes crossing forbidden borders, the message remains consistent. Transformation requires separation. The old world cannot produce the new self. The hero must venture into uncertainty. Psychologically, the family often represents that first world. It provides safety, identity, belonging, but eventually becomes too small. The person who remains forever inside the familiar never discovers who they might become. This does not mean abandoning family. It means refusing to remain psychologically dependent upon it. The journey outward is ultimately a journey inward. Enmeshment, when boundaries disappear. Psychologists use the term enmeshment to describe family systems with weak boundaries. In such systems, individuality is perceived as a threat. Privacy feels suspicious. Autonomy feels selfish. Personal choices become collective concerns. One person's emotions become everyone else's responsibility. Children raised in enmeshed families often struggle to distinguish their own desires from the expectations of others. They ask, "What do I want?" but unconsciously mean? What will keep everyone comfortable? Murray Steen, a prominent Jungian analyst, argued that many people never fully develop an independent sense of self because their identity remains fused with the family system. Instead of developing an I, they develop a we. They become experts at adaptation, experts at reading emotional atmospheres, experts at maintaining harmony, but strangers to themselves. From the outside, such families often appear close, loving, united, but closeness without boundaries is not intimacy. It is fusion, and fusion prevents individuation. Why families resist change? Something fascinating happens when one member of a family begins changing. At first, nobody takes it seriously. The new boundaries are dismissed as temporary, a phase, a trend, a reaction to a book or therapist. But if the changes persist, resistance grows. Joseph Campbell called this resistance the threshold guardian. In mythology, the threshold guardian stands between the hero and the unknown. Its purpose is not necessarily to destroy the hero. Its purpose is to test commitment. Within families, threshold guardians often appear wearing familiar faces. A sibling suddenly develops a crisis. A parent becomes unexpectedly dependent. Relatives begin questioning your decisions. Old stories about who you are repeated, not because your family consciously wishes to harm you, but because your transformation threatens the stability of the entire system. Your growth forces others to confront possibilities they have avoided. If you can change, perhaps they could have changed too. That realization can be unbearable. And so resistance emerges, not as conspiracy, but as self-protection. The family system behaves much like an immune system. Anything that threatens equilibrium is treated as a threat. Individuation becomes the psychological equivalent of a foreign object entering the body. The system mobilizes against it. Not because it is wrong, because it is unfamiliar, the pain of becoming. One of Jung's most important ideas is that individuation demands sacrifice. Not necessarily the sacrifice of relationships, but the sacrifice of identities. You cannot become who you truly are while remaining who everyone expects you to be. Something must die. Usually, it is the persona, the role, the mask. This death feels painful because it resembles loss. Friends may no longer understand you. Family members may accuse you of changing. Some relationships may weaken. Others may disappear entirely. Yet this pain is not evidence that you are making a mistake. It is evidence that transformation is occurring. Every meaningful transformation requires mourning. You are grieving the person you had to be in order to survive. You are grieving the illusion that everyone will celebrate your growth. You are grieving the fantasy that authenticity comes without consequences. It does not. Growth costs something. Always. The question is whether the cost of remaining small is greater than the cost of becoming. Differentiation is not rejection. A common misunderstanding about individuation is that it requires abandoning family. Jung never argued this. In fact, mature individuation often makes healthier relationships possible. The goal is not rejection. The goal is differentiation. Differentiation means maintaining connection without losing yourself. It means loving your parents without carrying responsibilities that belong to them. It means remaining connected while refusing emotional fusion. It means saying, "I love you," and also, "This decision is mine." Many people believe these statements are incompatible. They are not. The mature individual learns to hold both. This is one of Jung's deepest teachings. The psyche grows through integration, not through choosing one extreme over another. Freedom and belonging, autonomy and connection, independence and love. The challenge is not selecting one side. The challenge is carrying both. seeing your family clearly. One of the unexpected outcomes of individuation is compassion, not sentimental compassion, clear-eyed compassion. As you grow, something shifts. You begin seeing your parents as human beings rather than archetypes. You see their fears, their wounds, their limitations, their unfinished journeys. You recognize that they inherited the same patterns they passed on. The controlling parent may have grown up under control. The anxious parent may have inherited anxiety. The emotionally distant parent may never have experienced emotional safety. Understanding this does not excuse harmful behavior, but it creates context, and context creates compassion. You stop viewing people as villains. You see them as participants in a system larger than themselves. For the first time, genuine forgiveness becomes possible, not because the past was acceptable, but because you finally understand it. The other side of the forest. The myths were right. There is another side of the forest. There is life beyond the role, life beyond guilt, life beyond constant performance. The journey there is not easy. It demands courage, loneliness, grief, disappointment, but it also offers something irreplaceable: freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, the freedom to become who you actually are. Many people carry invisible weights for so long that they mistake them for parts of their body. Only after individuation begins do they realize how much energy was consumed maintaining identities that never belonged to them. The relief can be profound. The nervous system softens. The internal conflict quiets. Decisions become clearer. Life begins to feel more authentic, not because problems disappear, but because the person facing them is finally real. Jung's final challenge. Near the end of his life, Carl Jung wrote a sentence that remains one of the most powerful statements in psychology. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Notice what he did not say. He did not say it would be comfortable. He did not say it would be approved by everyone around you. He did not say it would preserve every relationship. He said it was a privilege, because most people never do it. Most people remain inside the roles assigned to them. They wear the mask until the end. They spend their lives seeking permission to exist. Individuation is the refusal to wait for that permission. It is the decision to become yourself, even when doing so disappoints others, even when it creates distance, even when it requires walking into uncertainty. And perhaps that is the real question beneath all of this. Not whether your family understands you, not whether everyone approves, not whether the journey is painless. The real question is this: which version of you deserves to live? The version created by expectations, or the version waiting beneath them? The answer cannot be postponed forever, because every day you remain inside a role that no longer fits, part of your life remains unlived. And every step you take toward authenticity, however small, is a step toward becoming whole. The forest is waiting. The threshold is waiting. The life beneath the mask is waiting. The only question is whether you are ready to meet it.